Ding. Hello everyone.
Hello.
Welcome to Happy Life Results Reading Book Group Live Q&A number 15. And today we have a special guest with us.
This is Bethel McPherson.
And she had, not only did she play a part in the book, if you have the hardback copy, the physical copy.
Hi, Jodelle.
Hey, Jodelle. Bethel did the design, so she had her artistic fingerprint is on the book as well.
I snuck it in there.
And we invited her into the live today because today's session is going to have a special topic about decision making. And so we're going to be talking about what goes into making decisions and how mastering peak experience can assist in the decision making process so that you get better decisions and enjoy the process more. So we'll get into that. So first off, let's give a couple of quick announcements while people are joining. Welcome everyone who's joining now. We're happy to see you with us. Wow.
Lots of likes.
That's
I
a lot of
love
fun.
it. Thank you.
Oh, and hearts too.
Oh, so nice. Okay, so first, a couple of quick announcements. Thank you everyone who have been responding to the orange hero colored questions.
Yes, thank you so much. Good job, everyone.
Yep. And we want to invite you this week. One of the things that happens with Facebook groups, the algorithm decides to send stuff only to the people who actually engage with it. And so as we're getting into the application stage, anyone who, we're going to send out an opportunity for you to comment. And it's very important that when you see something, you do somehow put a comment or even just an emoji or something so that Facebook recognizes this is the kind of content you like and you want to see again. So look for those, and when you see them, put down any kind of response. Just get in the habit for the orange ones. That's where application, the orange is for application. The hero gives some kind of a response, some kind of comment. It's better than emoji, but emoji is great too. So that's the announcement on that. And then we didn't have any other announcements beyond that. So let's move on to a special topic. Decision making, especially the big life-changing, scary kind of decisions. And Bethel has special expertise in this area, so we're going to turn it over to Bethel. If you would tell us some of the things that happen when people are facing decisions that they're hesitant about. What's happening there?
Yeah, okay, so just to give you guys a little bit of background, I work with a company called Gold Rat Research Labs that is headed by Dr. Alan Barnard. He's one of the foremost decision-making scientists in the world, actually. So I do have a bit of background on this topic. But basically, when it comes to decision-making, the two biggest problems people have is that they overreact and they procrastinate. Obviously, if you're facing a big decision, it can feel very scary. You don't really know or really want to decide because there are so many repercussions, and sometimes it feels so complicated that you don't really know what to do. And so the first thing people do is avoid it. Just don't think about it, don't address it, and then it'll go away, right? Except that it doesn't. It doesn't go away. You still have to make the decision. And so what happens is people procrastinate so long that they get to the point where they have to make a decision, and then they kind of freak out and they just make a decision on a whim. They don't really think it through, and they overestimate how big the changes that are good will be and how bad the changes that are bad will be. And so they overreact based on that, and it can lead to really poor decisions that people later regret. So that's the two biggest things that you usually see with decision making when you approach it from that fearful, scared, not sure, not knowing what's going on perspective.
Great, thank you.
That's
So
really helpful.
overreacting and procrastinating, which both of those are going to have a negative impact on the decision you make and on how you feel about the decision you're making. And the whole process of leading up to and
All of
making
it.
the decision.
All of it is just
and all the hindsight looking
everything
back at it, it's all
bad.
Okay.
You'll be scared moving forward. You'll regret it afterwards. Lifelong regret. No, but it's just
okay.
not.
So then let's talk about, Stacy, what are some things, how can the process of getting good at maintaining peak experience in all conditions, what kind of role can that play in the decision-making process? and how can that help in making better decisions? And maybe you two can kind of back
Yeah,
and
I was
forth
going
on
to say,
that.
I wanted to thank Bethel for sharing that, and she shared just a little bit of it before the live when we were just discussing it, and I just realized how concise that was. Like, overwhelm and procrastination, like, and then the overwhelm makes it so that you overreact, or what did you say, that when it you make it seem worse than it is and better than it is, like you exaggerate. That's what she said, exaggerate it. Yeah, and I was like, yeah, that just right on. That's what happens to people. And then I want to answer your question, but I just first wanted to have Bethel tell us a little bit about ways that we can make better decisions. Like, once we realize that that's what's typically going on, then how can we go forward to make better decisions?
Okay, and real quick, we did get a question asking what the company is, and so maybe you could tell a little bit more about Gold Rat Research Labs.
Yeah, absolutely.
And some of the technology and things that they're doing to help people make decisions.
Yeah, so like my father said, the company is called Gold Rat Research Labs. We can leave a link to it in the comments. But one of the technologies that Alan and the Gold Rat Research Labs team had developed is called the Harmony Decision Maker, that is actually specifically designed to help you avoid the mistakes that are so common, like procrastinating and overreacting. There are actually 5 decision mistakes. And so Alan actually created a method called the Pro-Con Cloud method, and it basically stems from Dr. Ellie Goldratt, who some of you may be familiar with, some of you may not. His work, and then also Benjamin Franklin's work, who pioneered the pro-con method, where you balance the pros and cons that I'm sure everyone is familiar with. So basically, the pro-con cloud method is a new way of taking pros and cons and taking it to the next level. So basically, instead of just saying, these are the things that are good and these are the things that are bad, it takes you through 5 steps so that you can make sure that you're not exaggerating any of the benefits or the downsides, and that you really are looking at all of the angles and all of the possible solutions. And so earlier you asked, how do you make decisions? The first thing is to get away from that emotional mindset where you just, everything is scary, everything is bigger, everything is worse, better, whatever. Because if you're in that state of mind, you can't make a rational decision very well, and you're more likely to react differently than you might in future looking back, right? So that's the first thing. And then the next thing is to really like sit down and think it through and look at ways that you could get more than you think. So another part of the Pro-Con Cloud method.
I love that, yeah.
Yeah, another part is that one of the steps is called the 4 viable options. So basically, instead of saying you make a decision or you don't, right, 2 options, there are actually 4. And they're all better than just make a decision or don't. So they're called change plus, not change plus, and another option, and then when and when not. So well, I'll leave a link if you want to know more about the Pro-Con Cloud method or the Gold Rat Research Labs or Dr. Barnard. He's fantastic. But basically, you find ways to add and subtract to make the choices and the decisions better. So you have more of the pros and less of the cons. And you do it in a way so that the whole time you don't have to actually address the question or the decision, so it's not scary.
Yeah.
Because as soon as it's scary, it's like, I'm terrified of heights. So like, it's, for me, it would be like making the decision standing at the edge of a cliff. Like, I can't think clearly, there's just heights. So.
Yeah.
So thank you, Bethel.
Yes, thank
and
you.
there is interest in the link, so we'll make sure we'll put that in and let everyone have a way to look at that. So one of the things that Bethel just eloquently described was that what happens when you're in that fight, flight, fear, I'm at the edge of the cliff. So one purpose of the tools and the research is to help mitigate that feeling so that you can make a more rational decision and maybe to look at more angles as well, right? To look at more options. So Stacy, we've been talking for weeks now about mastering up unconditional peak experience. How, if let's say that you are capable of maintaining your peak experience when you get ready to approach a decision what would that look like, and how would that help in a similar way to what Bethel was describing with the technology?
So one of the things, the pro-con cloud method and using an app to kind of get everything really clear in your mind, is one of the benefits of that is that it puts a little bit of distance between you and the decision. It doesn't feel like there's a threat hanging over you, like that you're afraid of, because it's that fear and that threatening feeling that makes us so incapable of making clear decisions, right?
It's a different kind of cloud.
Yeah, which actually we call it a dark cloud hanging over you.
There it is.
When you have a decision, it hangs over you like a dark cloud, and you don't know how to get rid of it. So.
Yes,
Right on the
perfect.
money.
Yeah. So what you want is you want to put a little bit of distance between you and your decision, and what that will do is it will decrease the threat level. So you can imagine, like, if something was a highly threatening environment, then you would act differently than if it was a less threatening environment. So what we want is we want to help you guys get a less threatening environment to decide, to create this space. I love to call it a space because it's a space between you and making the decision, but it's also a space between you and just reacting to the environment.
Yeah, like almost a shield between any kind of negative emotional consequence. There's this, it's not just a space of time or distance. There's an emotional freedom there where you can interact with things that if you didn't have that emotional freedom would probably push you away or somehow overshadow your ability to make clear decisions. So yeah.
And it actually helps you make decisions faster. Might sound odd because we're talking about a space, but when you're not functioning in that really emotional state, you actually have more access to the rest of your brain. So you can actually process things faster and then make better decisions faster. So, bonus, I guess.
That's really good.
Okay, so any other things that you would like to bring up about the decision-making process and possibly how UP plays into it? Definitely, we're going to leave a link there for the Gold Rat Research Labs and some of their products. But anything else you wanted to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to just open up a little bit more topic of the topic of why do we get in that overwhelmed stage? Let's go back a little bit in time and say, why do we even get to the overwhelm? We talked about procrastination, so maybe just a little bit, if you wanted to tell us a little bit more about what preventative measures or what we can do so that we don't get into that threatening environment in the first place.
So the first thing is that always keep that space like we talked about and take a step back from any decision, especially if you start to feel that sort of overwhelmed feeling. Just take a deep breath, distance yourself, like allow the emotion to settle. And then if you know that you want to make the decision, sit down and give yourself time to think about it, to process it. And then also, we talk about this cloud of possibility that basically exists everywhere in anything. So when we make decisions, we feel like we know what is going to happen if we make a decision or if we don't. But I can pretty much guarantee you don't. You really, how could you know? You can make a very educated guess, but it could still be entirely wrong. And so stressing or being afraid of something that you don't even know if it will happen or not, or making a decision that you might regret later because you think it'll have these amazing benefits, like that leads to then, being disillusioned and to, what's the word? When you... Disappointed. Yeah, that works. Yeah, basically when something didn't turn out how you thought it would. And so if you keep in mind that we don't really know what's going to happen, then it's not so threatening because there's a huge range. And so another thing that we've talked about before is, you look at the worst case scenario, the best case scenario, and the most likely case scenario. And that really helps people put it into perspective, get that space, and also not be emotionally intertwined with the decision.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
good,
Yeah.
yes. Thank you.
And statistically, in the studies done on people's prediction of how happy something will make them or how
Oh, yeah.
unhappy something will make them. We're not very good at predicting that.
we are very bad at predicting.
And we're also not very good at predicting how long lasting it will be. Because let's say it was negative or positive, the perspective people would have when asked in advance would think, oh, it's going to be the rest of my life this way or a long time this way. But we adapt really quickly to new situations. And so realizing, as Bethel pointed out, when you're looking at the probabilities of what may actually happen, realize that there's the tendency to overestimate how much impact the decision is actually going to have. So how scary it is, it's going to change if the impact is less. Yeah. And so then what happens with Up Mastery, if you're going to be able to maintain peak experience no matter what happens, the entire emotional impact is removed from the equation.
Yes.
Yep. And that's the other part, is that after you've made a decision, or even before, like any part of the process, it doesn't help to beat yourself up about it, to dig into that overwhelmed feeling. It doesn't benefit you at all. You feel worse, you probably end up making a worse decision, and then you probably feel worse later because you felt bad during the process when it happened. So it's just, the whole process just kind of spirals downward if you really focus on that negative feeling. But if you can, take that space and then not, like, whatever method works for you, right? We call them crutches in the book, or not in the
Boosts,
book.
crutches, both.
Will be in the book. Yeah. Use those, and then if you're practicing Up Mastery, practice being happy or okay or feeling good about whatever is happening, regardless of what it is, whether it be good or bad or anything in between, because it will actually help you react better and help you feel better because you're feeling positive.
Yeah.
Right?
If it's a decision you have to make or you want to make it.
Yep.
So making the decision is on the table. You can't, if it's not one of those decisions where I don't really have to make that decision and throw it away. But it's a decision you're going to make. What condition will you be in that you're the most capable of making a decision that you think is a good decision and a decision that you can feel good about? There's two different aspects of the same thing.
Yeah.
And so, if you don't give in to the negative spiraling and digging into this is going to be terrible, or this is, I feel bad about my decision, or all of the potential negative spiraling.
Yes.
And then if you're practicing, I like that. You're saying, hey, if you're in this group and you're practicing the skill, the art and skill of maintaining peak experience in all conditions, what a great opportunity.
Yes, true. And that's a perfect answer to my question. How can they prepare, or what are the steps prior to the overwhelm and the feeling of crisis moment? Yeah.
So, and they wanted to let you know, Bethel, thanks for jumping in.
Of course.
We thank you for jumping in too.
I'm always here, I just hide.
Yeah, great time for practice, exactly.
Yep.
Yes. Well, that's all we had for our topics for the day, and that was our one announcement. Make sure you look for the orange. Anytime you see an orange, please respond to it somehow. Just engage in it, get in that practice, because those will be the ones as we move further into the hero stage, the practical application. Those are the orange ones.
Yes.
Yep.
So look for that.
Yep.
Thanks, Bethel, for being here with us.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy you're here.
And thanks for everyone who tuned in with us today. It was great to see the interaction. We really appreciate it.
Yes, the hearts and likes. Oh, it's so fun.
Fantastic.
Thank you guys.
Thumbs up for everyone. And we'll see you guys next week.
Yep. Take
Thanks
care, everyone.
again. Take care.
Bye.